Hey guys, how you doing? Let's do this thing. Let's try it. Alright, come on. There we go. Let's see if we can't get a pin. Maybe go for attack with something like this. See, do I want to play Queen A5? Or do I want to... I could play Knight takes. And then when he takes back, I take back with my queen. It'd be a cross pin. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. See if I can't get in here. My bishop I'm not really worried about. Oh shoot, that was a... oh, whew. Yeah, we'll do a one rematch. That was close. see. How do I want to do this? Okay. This is interesting. I think I made a mistake here. We'll call it a day on that. Okay, so taking here. Okay, so yeah, that was yeah. One more and then we'll log out. I mean, not log out, sorry. Then we'll log into London. We'll give it 1 minute, and if I don't get one in 11:38, then we'll go into our London system. Big Bang Theory. castles and get to safety. Alright. I'm gonna push up up to E5. It should hold. And then G6 is good to go. Boom, baby. Wham. Nah, I appreciate. I played enough with him. Let's get onto our London system. Okay. Okie dokie. Let's see, what do we got here? Alright, this is a really good one. Instead of E takes, we're going to go into C takes and reverse already. So, let's see, what do we got here? Good, okay. 4, knight f6, knight f3. C5, C3. And this is kind of if you want to play a safe game, but you want to expand with low risk, almost no risk. In the C takes D4, you're gonna have to like go for central expansion. But if you're wanting to go for a big attack, E takes D4 is actually the move you want, because wherever the pawns are pointing is usually where you're gonna attack, and so all the pawns are pointing towards the king side. So we have a king side attack. This is more positional. So he castles, knight to C3, D6, and okay. Alright, let's see here. Okay, now we're going to say what would happen if black actually played more solid. This is kind of more of a passive move here. What if black played solid? What would white do against it? So D5, knight C1, C6, and then E5. Because what we're trying to do is get the knights. If the knight trades off, we could take back with the bishop. And then if the knight ever moves, we can take the bishop with our dark square bishop. So if it's something like this, let's say he moves back, we just trade off, and then let's say he takes with the knight, right? Now we've eliminated the dark square bishop. Yes, we don't have two bishops, but he does have a weakness on h6 now forever. So that's a perk for why black shouldn't take. And we don't take the bishop because the bishop's horrible, by the way, so you wouldn't want to do that. Queen b3 takes scope on e7, a5, and then queen to a3. Now this is under fire. We also have a potential b4, and then we can get b5, b4, a4, and then we can get this pawn's onslaught going. So f5 is what black wants to do, is so that he can so black can play e6 and cement his structure. But you gotta be careful still that g4 could be playable, so just be really careful. So e2, and at this moment, this is what there is no comment. But if I was to say that this is more of a solid line, so it's going to be harder for white to break through. So this is best for black for solidifying his position. It's going to be hard for black to make any progress because of where his knight is. His knight, if it wants to go back, we can actually take. And then we open up. So, but he plays more of a passive move, d6, because the idea is at the right moment to play possibly e5. But we don't have to really worry about that at this moment. But also we have to remember, hey, oh, I'm glad you like that. Because you know it's a gift the Lord's given me, and so that's He's given me a good voice, so that's kind of, I'm using it for Him. But it truly, okay, this is the whole thing. H3 predicts that black's gonna play. See, if we played something like, let's say bishop e2, right? He could play knight to h5, and then, well, we could play our nice subtle move and maybe win a pawn, but he's got the two bishops now, and yes, he can maybe cement his position, but I don't know. I still prefer black slightly here because of he's going to open up the position eventually with e5. When e5 is played, he's going to be attacking here. So I think maybe white's slightly better, but this is kind of the idea. If something like that, g5, more, it's not going to be h. So h6 is actually the incorrect move. It's going to be g6. And we studied in the Grunfeld that if you were wanting to kind of get, an advantage, you want to play knight bd2 or knight to d2, and then when takes, and if he takes, then you could take back, and black does have an open file. I don't know. I think I believe that white's worse here because he's down a whole piece. So he's going to have to retreat his bishop back, and then something like this, and you take, and then you take, and you get a pawn structure, something like this. And this actually now is better for white in that line. But okay, we got to delete that. That's why, of course, h3 is played. You have to play those scenarios out in your mind when you're going to move a move to say what's the consequences of that move, because there's consequences to each playable move. So you have to remember that each move has a drawback. Maurice Ashley said that. Yazzer said that. Even Gary Kasparov talked about that. There's always drawbacks. You always have to give something up. Like when this pawn moved, it lost the protection of g3. So I mean, this when the pawn went to h3, it's no longer protected twice. So it's weak by one pawn on g3. So you have to always consider, is the drawback worth playing? And in this line, because knight to h5 it is worth playing because we can retreat back. It's more of a positional London. There is an attacking London, like a Ginger, our Grandmaster Simon Williams is he's got a website, Ginger GM. I mean YouTube. That's what I mean. And he has, like, I think 4 episodes on the London system, playing it more aggressively. If you're an aggressive player or an attacker, this is more positionally. This is kind of what Gadakomsky would actually play, because he would build up for an attack. They call him the king of the London, and that he's kind of kept the London system going. Gada has, and I thank him for that, because you know what, it's a really beautiful opening system. It's a great system, and it is for players who want to study more like tactics and theory. The London system allows you to have an opening that's solid, and it can deal with a lot of different black openings. So you have to, that's why I like it, is if you know how to handle certain openings like the Grunfeld, there's a way of the London system handling that. There's a way, like we're going through the reverse ready, there's a way of handling that through the London system. The next chapter, it's going to be in probably 4 or 5 or 6 games, I think, in the book, that we're going to be doing the King's Indian, and that's a fun one. That's more more of an attacker's. It's how you handle that. So bishop to b7 is an interesting move. Let me see, where are we at? Okay, bishop b7. Hold on, I gotta make sure. Okay, b7. Am I on? Okay, I'm on 9. Gotcha. I had to look at my notes for a second. There we go. So we're good. So far, so good. And they're just developing. And the bishop just falls back. It looks like it's a waste of a move, but in true setup, it's not, because it's avoiding all the problems of the potential e5. So the e5 pawn push has no teeth at this moment, it's not big because it doesn't have a target to attack. So that's what black's main idea in the reverse ready is, to get e5 in. And a lot of different London system lines for black. Black wants to try to get e5 in. That's the main idea, because it's more of a freeing up of his position. If you notice, black is really cramped. So if he can get more space, like e4, e5, e4, something like this going, he'll be able to kind of make his pieces more mobile. Otherwise, he's like in a I call it the boa constricting bind, and it's not a fun thing to do. It's like a maze, hitting a dead end. You don't want that. So we just take and takes, and this eyes the a4, and it also develops the queen to a more active spot. It also takes it and reconnects these rooks. And of course, from your guys' principles, you guys know when the rooks are connected like this, it means that you're in the middle game. So this one move, queen to a4, accomplished two or more things. It developed the queen, first of all, it attacked the pawn, and it connected the rook. So it's three things at least that we can see topically. It could be because these guys are grandmaster players, that it has a lot more as we go on. They have like 3 or 4 ideas behind each move usually, and of course you can see when they don't, they end up losing. So and that's that's a pain in the drain for sure. Okay, knight c5, rook c5, 7, c5, why am I thinking that? Because there is no c pawn. Knight d2. The plan is to gain e4. See, if black isn't going to play e5, white's saying, you know what? I'm willing to play e4, and then I'm willing to play d5, and I'll take the space. I'll be the one with the space advantage. If you're not going to take the initiative to go for it, I'll be more than happy to take over the initiative and be the one to push the game from here on. And that's kind of what white does. White pushes the game from here on, and you'll get to see how black slowly kind of falls back and becomes really passive. Knight f5, f6, and now because this idea is no longer playable because there's two pieces guarding it, white decides, why not just retreat to b1 and then go to c3, because c3 allows, it's the same idea of going potentially for e4, but this time it's attacking the light squared bishop, and it's preparing to reroute the queen potentially. There's a lot of different moves, and maybe even better would be c3, b5, knight b5. That's an idea to go after the a7 pawn. See, if we could start pawn grabbing and get some weaknesses on the queen side, later on in the game we'll have an outside pass pawn. So if it comes down to a 2 pawns versus 1 end game, we're going to get a pass pawn, and this king's going to have to kind of walk all the way over here to deal with it. And you got to kind of, in some lines, you have to think end game at the very beginning. What do you want to have at the end game? And sometimes you just have to be positional. Even if you're an attacker, you just got to get used to playing positionally. That's what makes world champion Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano great players. Those two, they see what pawn. See, this is a pawn skeleton here, and this will dictate kind of where you're going to be playing. Like, because our pawns are pointing this way, we're going to be more, inclined to play against the queen side because we have more space. But anytime we can switch over. The king, I gotta say, the king of being able to do that was Capablanca. He would make you think he's attacking on one side, but he would switch without you even knowing to the other side, and you'd be caught off guard, thinking, "What in the world? What's going on here?" And then it's way too late, and then he's got you. And he's caught a lot of opponents doing it that way. So you kind of have to be flexible. That's one thing I gotta say. Capablanca was pretty flexible in his move systems. And that's what made him a world champion. That's kind of what you have to do. You kind of got to be able to, even inside of like atoms, there's electrons, and they have to jump to certain. They have to get a certain enough energy to jump to another circle, another field. That's kind of what you have to be able to do. You have to get used to jumping to positional at a certain time, jumping back to attacking, positional attacking, and when you do that, you'll become a better player, a more better player. And my teacher told me that it was based, he says, the way you can learn that is by at least doing 10 to 15 minute games. He says the hardest thing to do is to learn it through like a 5, 3, or 1 minute game, because he said that my Grandmaster teacher said that you're more on instinct at that time. You're not learning tactics or strategy. So he kind of pushed me to do like 10 to 15 and upward games. And so that's why I kind of prefer doing 10 minutes at least. Okay, let's see here. Queen B. Okay. Now like what we talked about, the idea is knight c3 to b5. That's the idea. So knight e4, we take, queen takes, and then now we're kicking out the knight. The knight can't go here or there, or here or here. So it has to actually go back to f. And then now we're developing our bishop, our knight, to c3 with the idea now with teeth. I call it teeth. With the attacking ability of b5. Now it's attacking the queen and the pawn at the same time. So bishop h6 is kind of a forced move. This takes scope on the pawn. It makes white have to now say, what do I want to do? Do I want to push and get central expansion? And of course, you know what? Why not, if you're allotted, do that? And it doesn't really, even if there's a check on E, there's really nothing that could come of that, because I'll just show you, if he does that, you just move, and now this bishop's under fire, so it's going to have to either go probably e6 is a good idea, and then now we go d5, and now we can actually play queen b3 with the idea of a double attack coming down the pike there, the queen and the bishop. So that's kind of, I looked at that move and I was like, it wasn't, that's why I was kind of not scared when he played e4. I looked at him like, there's nothing to that. Everything's guarded and it'd be a silly move. So c6 is actually what was played. It's kind of, this is more of a forcing attacking move. c4 is queen c4 pins the bishop, and so there is actually d5 in the position, pawn d5, which would attack the queen. So the queen has to move at d5 anyways, which at this point, let me see, do I have my notes? No, we're not there yet. Okay, there. And then he moves to c7. He's losing anyways, but there's kind of a more complicated way for black to maybe salvage the game, because if you notice, white has a ginormous bind in the center. His pawn structure is like immense. It's like having a barricade on a castle. You have so many forces around. There's no getting out of the castle. This is more of a what do they call that? Let me see. Oh, it starts with a. Let me me see. I'll think about it, because the word means that you basically dwindle over time. I forgot the word name. It's not inertia. It's something else. I'll think about it. I'll get it. I'll remember it. Then I'll tell you guys. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I lose a thought every once in a while. It's a pain, but you know what? I like doing this. What I mean by it's kind of like I can't really do two things sometimes. C8 is, and then now we don't want to trade. We want to keep our bishops on the board because we have space. The more trades that come off, it benefits. It'll help relieve the pressure for black. So if you're basically squeezing your opponent, you want to keep as many pieces on the board because it'll constantly tie your opponent down to the basically passivity, being a passive in a passive game. So that's all that black can do, and it's eyeing a solid, stone structure. And then now if we can get this bishop traded off, and we just activate our king, and black is totally passive at this point, and we're winning. So this is kind of you'd have to know this line, but this is a better line for black to kind of maybe hold. Let's see, where are we at now? Yeah, white still retains the better chance. This is what the notes say. White still retains the better chance due to the space advantage and the ability to quickly centralize his king and his pieces. Black doesn't have any weaknesses though. So if you notice, black is cramped, but he doesn't have any weaknesses. He has no kind of points that we can, take scope on. Like if we come here, he basically could bring a rook over and guard that pawn. There's no real way we can attack any of his structures at this moment. So, but we do have one thing. If he does take and our king takes, we do have a king that gets to the center faster. So that is a perk in our position. But rather than going down that line, black kind of folds really fast here. Queen to c7, f4 exclam. Because now what we're going to try to do is tear open the center, because black's totally passive, and if we can get a passed pawn, we have the resources to basically go after really hard his position, hit him real hard. Rook e8, king h1. This gets out of any attacks. It's a prophylactic idea because he potentially someday may want to go queen to c4. But if our king's not on g1 but h1, then the queen to c4 has c5. Sorry, queen c5 has nothing to do with the game. It'd be more of a dubious move because it would give up the protection of a7, and of course we'd be more than happy to walk right in and grab it and say thank you very much. A little humor there. You got to have a little bit. So with f4 back here, this is what the author says. We have to go back to f4. Black has serious problems with b5. Boom. c6. White's central space advantage takes an alarming grasp in the center. Basically, he starts annexing territories. And e5 will be playable with mass destruction in mind, because what's going to happen is when he takes back and we take back, we're going to have this massive center, and it's just going to demo the entire black army. It's going to be like a wrecking ball, crunching into a building. Okay, there we go. G6 or G7, E5, wham. Knight to E8. H. Now we're attacking, and so that was dubious. They're saying the best line now for black potentially to hold a draw. 1 second, I need a drink of water. Just a little dry throat. 1 second. Much better in my throat. My palate is now moist and ready to go. Okay. Well, this line here, queen to c2, is the best way for black to potentially hold a draw. He has to know exactly this line though, because this actually comes from a game that was played. So knight takes a7, rook a8, bishop f3, king c7 to queen c7 to double attack the rook. The knight, and wham, e6. That's really strong, because if black ever takes, which is what he does, we play e takes, and then queen takes, and then at this point we play queen takes b6, and now we accomplished. He's going to grab one of our pawns, of course, but we now have a passed pawn. We do have kind of a weakening of our structure, but this d5 pawn really takes a grip of territory for us. So b2, c1, queen a, and then c8. King to f8, force to guard the knight. g1, rook takes. Now I'm going to let you guys for a second. I want you guys for a little bit to see what does white play. This is a brilliant move. This is a double exclam move. It's a little bit hard to do. I know you guys could do it though. It's a move. This is an amazing move, and I'm going to let you guys have a little bit of time to look at it, starting now. There's no wrong answer, so give it your best shot, because this is all about learning. I'll give you a minute, and if you guys are watching this like on YouTube or on Twitch, you guys should stop it right here and excuse me, try to solve it yourself, because it's a really interesting move. You need to if you could solve this, it's like a grandmaster move. I was like shocked when I saw it, but it actually is a beautiful move. Okay, I'll show you guys. Remember, if you're watching pre-recording, stop it, solve it for yourself. Bishop to d1, double exclam, because if the queen takes, what you can at this point do is grab the rook. If the rook takes, well, I'll show you the scenarios. Queen takes, of course you grab that. If rook takes, of course you grab this. Now you're threatening mate. So he's going to have to play something like this. And at this point, you play bishop takes, and now you're threatening to checkmate. So he's going to have to play something like this. And let me see here. You're probably going to take here. Then you can actually grab another pawn. Then if he grabs there, and you're winning. Could you just grab that at that point? And now you're up a whole piece. And you could actually, at this point, I could delete here and just say grab the rook, because even if he plays up, now that's mate, so he can't move up. He's gonna have to push up, and then what you could do is just take. He comes up, and there's mate, which is a beautiful move if you think about it. So delete that. There we go. That's why I was like, that was a stellar move. So we're back now. He played instead of that bishop takes, which is dubious, because bishop takes. Let me see here. Okay, there. Alright, there. Okay, takes. Now we got what we accomplished. Our desire was to get these two pawns. And if the, of course, you guys see if the bishop takes, right? Bishop takes, queen takes, he loses the rook, so he can't do that. So he's tied down. He can't actually take here, which is pretty amazing. So he has to retreat to guard that, and then we just bring the bishop in. Knight, queen f. I mean d3, not queen f, and this is queen f8. Now we're attacking. This allows for e6 to be playable. So e6 now isn't that good of a move. But actually, I'm sorry. Forgive me with that. e6 is a good move because it takes scope on this pin here. Rook takes is forced. Otherwise, the queen's trapped because we're just going to grab that. So he's got to take e takes and then queen d4, d7 or d8. Oh, did I forget a line? Drat. Well, this is the line. I forgot a line back there. So, and at this point, black resigned because there's no real way. If he takes here, we're gonna win a. We're not gonna take there. We'll probably take with the bishop. So get rid of that. We take with the bishop. So at this point, he resigned. But we got to go back. Instead of queen to f8, okay, we have to look at, there's another subline. He still loses though. It still is a losing move. And passing. And now we're pushing on. He can't take because the queen's protecting it. And now we check. H and then rook e1. And we're planning on implanting a rook to e7. And we're basically totally dominating at that point. We have a slice and dice and crunch and munch, and so we'll go through that now. And then there's no way to stop. He's going to have to go passive. So if he was to bring his knight to a8, he's going to have, that's going to be horrible because we then could just bring our queen in, and he's going to lose a, it's going to end up becoming really bad for him. Like if he plays here, there's no way to stop this from queening. Wham. So, and now let's read the summary and we'll move on to our tactics. And we're going to go back to the important point. Knight to d4. Not knight d4, sorry, c takes d4. C takes d4 allows white to play a risk-free for the win. The plan is to eventually push your center pawns and seize the space advantage. That's basically the ideas. For if you're going to play positionally, you have to seize the space advantage, which is what white did. Basically, slowly crunch. Like if you're in a like a compactor, basically that's what white did. Slowly compact black, and then black broke under the pressure. So we're gonna do some puzzles now. I'm gonna leave this puzzle with you. I'll be right back. So guys, take a look at it. Put in the ideas that you have for this. We'll go over it and we'll continue down our puzzles. Okay, I'll be right back. Alrighty, let's see what we got here. Okie dokie. I kind of see Queen G6 check. If knight intercepts, we actually play knight takes F7. If we actually check though, the king could just move and the knight guards F7, so trying to see. Hey, how you doing? Okay, so it has to be something to do with a check, that's for sure. So I'm thinking potentially queen g6 check. Oops, what, g6 check. If king d8, we play knight. Oops, knight takes e6 check, and king to c8. We have knight to c5. That's an idea. Attach the queen. I'm kind of thinking like that. Something like that. So here, here, there, there, and then knight to c5, attacking the queen. Let me see here. So let's go for it. Now we gotta make sure. See, this leads to knight takes, queen takes. Then we're equal, and that actually gets the knight out of play. We don't want that. So knight takes. Maybe it's bishop takes that we're looking at. I mean, knight takes f8. Because then if rook takes f8, we have queen takes f7. And we're forking the rook and the knight. Because I don't think that has I don't think knight c5 has enough teeth to it. This also is attacking the queen, so the rook has to take. Yeah. Oh, you're kidding me. Wow. Okay. Snap, I missed that. Hey, how you doing? That was not a bad one. I'll give it a like. I like that one. Drat. It's okay. We'll get it back. We'll get it back. Don't worry. We are so close. Should have went with our gut on that one. Actually, hold on. I want to see why the other one doesn't work. Oops, wrong one. That's not the what I want. Here, here, and there. I want to see why that's not right. Oh, okay. He can guard the knight at that point. Okay, I missed that. That's okay. Hey, you gotta learn. That's the whole part of chess, is learning. Oh, nice. Queen takes rook. Queen takes queen. Queen takes queen, and then check. When the king comes up, we grab that. Let's make sure that this works, though. Is there any counter to that? Unless he takes. There's knight takes knight. What takes? No, we'd be up a whole piece. If pawn takes, we take, and we're up a whole rook. I like that one. That's a pretty interesting one. I'll give that a like. Let's see here. It's black to move. Okay. Trying to see if I can make knight takes f, but the only problem is he's got knight to f6. Then we have king. We have king to f7. Then with the knight, when the knight goes to d5, we then retreat. We then can retreat our knight out with either something like that or something there. So if we played knight takes f. Actually, he can't check. What am I talking about? That's silly. He's got two pieces that are hanging. Wow. Knight takes f5. Knight takes f5. And if g takes f5, f5, bishop takes e4, takes e4, check. King moves wherever. G takes f4. I believe that's the move. Let me see. So knight takes. Knight takes. If king moves up, we can move there with check, and then we're gonna win the knight. So if yeah, he can't move here, so he's got to move up to guard that. Yeah. Oh, you're kidding me. What did I... I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Why doesn't this should work too? Oh, he then can block that. Okay. So you have to get rid of that piece that can block it. Then you take. Okay. Just gotta retreat out. Then you retreat. Now you gotta... He can win this pawn, but... We're still winning because we're up 2 pawns. I'll give it a like. Okay. Hey, Fox. Oh, elegant. Okay. Let's take a look. Gotta turn off the engine. Let's set this engine off. Okay. A4. Okay, there. Okay, so I say 4. So I believe if you take there, you'll lose. You potentially. I gotta check that out real quick. Just 1 second. I want to see where I made a mistake. Oh, gotcha. He can't. Okay, you take the queen. That's okay. Gotcha. Duh. So he can't retreat out because then you grab the queen. Yeah. Nice. Everything's supported. Double attack, the love in that. Okay, that pawn's now under fire on C. Okay, rook 81. Okay, so we're trying now for an expansion on the king side. D3, G4, yeah. And now we're bringing the rooks. Move the king. Now we can play this with big time attack. Wham. And then G5. I'd play G5, and of course the engine did. Takes, bishop takes, and then F6 is forced. Knight. We're not worried about the loss of the bishop. If the bishop gets lost, it is what it is. We just drop right on in. And then we pick up the queen. Wham. So there's your tactic. So the bishop retreats. That tactic's gone now. I guess it's not gone. Well, yeah, it is gone because the bishop's guarded now. There's none of that knight here, come up and over there. So you just retreat out. Chief, nice. Pawn takes, C takes, and wham. Yeah, loving that. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to open, we don't want to take here. If we take here, it opens this up, which actually benefits black at that point. So we don't want to do that. We want black to take on our terms. There we go. Bishop takes, wham. Takes, takes. Now we're going after the weak e-pawn. Wham. Let me just move the king up. Crunch. Yeah, it'd be silly for him to actually grab that, because then we can actually start potentially trading like something like this. Let's see here. Yeah. Wham, there's mate. Okay, there we go. That's why he didn't take. Because it would have given the engine the one move it needed to do a mate. Now the pawns, this rook's having a sitch. So the king has to stay, otherwise we get the old classic skewer. Now the pawn's protected and yeah. Man, everything's, this is a solid game. And then you could potentially go F5. Then he has that. I think that helps the engine out though, the other engine. Alright, it frees up a spot for the king to come in. You gotta remember that. Okay, there. And now we're getting ready for here or there, h7 or h6. Now we're threatening there. And we have a passed pawn that's going up the board. So I think that's kind of why he didn't push the pawn. And this is a horrible move too, because wham, you lose a pawn there. So the rook has to guard there. King moves there. And if the king takes, of course, boom, we win that with check. No, knight intercepts. It reminds me of a Lucinda kind of setup. I think it could have just played this here and probably accomplished the same thing. Probably don't want to do that. I probably want to kind of stay away from that and just bring the king over. Bam, there you go. Okay. And now that the king's moved, you just bring your, and you can just now waste a move with your knight if you ever needed to. You can just keep it there, and as it goes. Yeah. And you just go, and you just waste a move. Just waste a move. It just goes boom. There you go. Oh, you're welcome. Glad to help. That was a really interesting game. Wow, the other engine was 50 points ahead of white. Wowzers. That was a good one. Thank you for the game. That was really good. I'm thinking rook takes d5. Interesting. Yeah, that does look better, doesn't it? Yeah, that's actually a better move. We made him, yeah. Yeah, that makes, yeah. Nice. We'll give that we'll be number 60. Yep, he did good on that one. That was excellent. I think we have to do remove the guard. Rook to F, rook F5. But check, but I think he can actually flee if we do that. See, rook F5, king there, check, up, queen check, king moves, then rook takes. Do we like that move? Not rook F5, sorry. Sorry, rook F6. Rook F5 is wrong. Rook F6 is what I mean. Check. Oh, wow. He could... Well, no, it's mate. No, it's not mate. Drat. He's got that to flee to. Yeah, I think that's right. So he's got to take. And then we'll do one more. Yeah, that was a good one. We're doing good, guys. Just gotta keep pushing forward. We'll get this. I remember this is kind of like a, you first have to check. Yeah, I'm thinking something like this. If the knight moves here, if the bishop takes, knight takes. Actually, that, well, he could just move his king up, so that doesn't work. That idea falls by the wayside. So it must be queen. I think it's queen to a4 then. And then if knight intercepts, we play bishop takes. And then if queen takes, we just slide over and grab this bishop. We use the skewer. I mean the discovery. Well, that works too. Yeah, because I think the only problem with taking here is when he takes back and we check, he can actually block with the queen protecting the bishop. Because the pawn's not here anymore. He could protect the bishop. Yeah. See what happens, it's very interesting that one move makes the difference, because when he takes, we have this, and now the bishop guards the queen. Not a bad one. We'll do one more. What are we missing here? What are we missing? potentially thinking queen d5 with the entrance point of, but I'm not exactly sure if we're on the right path there. Of course, they give us like a super duper hard one, don't they, at the end? It's like, let's throw you the hardest one ever. They give us like two really straightforward ones, and then it's like, let's give you a Grandmaster one. That's funny. What are we missing here? I'm thinking, I think that's the only best move in the sitch. Okay. Well, we'll end on that. Do you guys have any questions about the puzzles? Any of the puzzles? You guys have any questions? Oh, we want to check to see what would happen if Bishop G. I believe he can actually intercept here at this point, come in. Yeah, totally crunching. It's queen a2, queen a2. And if you guys want the number of the puzzle, it's 87584. Let me see, is that right? Yes, that's the puzzle number. Yeah, because it's a pretty cool puzzle. It has a lot of different parts into it. So do you guys have any more questions? Are you guys good? Are you guys good? I'll give you guys a minute to type in if you guys want to check anything. We'll give that a like. I like that one. I think it's pretty cool. So I'll give it a 30. I'll wait till 107. And if there's no response, then I will say adieu. Goodbye. Alrighty. But okay, guys, you gotta remember that we have to keep moving forward, and that, you know what, it's all about learning, the process of learning. You're not always going to get them all right. You have to remember that. But what you do with the ones that you don't get right, you can learn from and apply. And even if let's say you get one right, but you thought you were going down the wrong track, you can put that back in and see what would happen if your idea was to be played. So use these puzzles as the ability to learn as well. And you know what? The whole thing is, knowledge is important. That's what my Grandmaster teacher taught me. That, you know what? Like Bruce Lee, knowing is not enough, we must apply. So you can know a lot, but you have to apply it to your life and to the board. Willing is not enough, we must do. Also, I was reading a really good book today that said that it makes our hands to war. The book says it makes our hands to war and our fingers to fight. And that was really inspirational. So I thought, our hands to war, which means we use our hands, we move with the pieces, our fingers to fight. So that was really cool. And like Hannibal Smith said, you know what? You have to be the one to dictate the outcome of the battle. A retreat may look like a retreat, but it's not. You're luring your opponent in for the right time to pounce. So just keep that in mind. And as always, you know what? Learn from your mistakes. That's the whole thing. And keep moving forward. And if you ever get kind of nervous about a puzzle and you panic, stop, breathe, and believe. Sometimes you just gotta stop and take a deep breath, close your eyes, and believe that the Lord's gonna help you with the puzzle, and then go with the puzzle. Go with your idea. And if you make a mistake, it's a great learning lesson. Okay, and I'll leave you guys with those thoughts. Actually, I want to leave you with this one. I really like this. You know what, guys? We're like the person that came in, hung up our coat, hung up our hat. We sat down at a table, and the thing that couldn't be done, we did. And I know you guys can do the things that people say can't be done. You guys can. I know you can. Okay, and I'll leave you with that thought. And as Wesley So says, through the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless, and I'll see you guys next time on Chess Cruncher TV. And so guys, have a great, blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and you know what? Keep studying chess. Keep using the mind the Lord's given you, and keep pushing forward. Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow, and we'll do some more puzzles, studies, and maybe a game or two. And we'll keep moving forward and getting stronger. Be blessed, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thumbs up. Great job.